Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 origin continent based on novel. So let's start. Sigh, I just wanted to live peacefully in my hometown, but you forced my hand, the plain elder sighed, instantly transforming into a black shadow that swept past. Wherever he passed, including an eternal true God, dozens of disciples died instantly. The super-large mechanical secret treasure in the sky immediately panicked, kill him. Buzz. Dark formations in the high sky had already erupted, covering the black shadow with terrifying dark forces. Heart Shadow Sect, during my travels across the land of origin, nobody has ever searched me, the plain elder said wildly. With his voice echoing everywhere, the black shadow had already disappeared. He escaped. I didn't expect that aside from Lord Luo, there would be another expert hidden within Huyang City. The super-large mechanical secret treasure, unable to locate its target, immediately contacted the master of the Heart Shadow Sect. Master, a formidable enemy spotted, we need causality tracking to lock onto the perpetrator. The Heart Shadow Sect sprang into action, beginning their pursuit of the plain elder. Having established such causality and locked by the sect's great formation, it was quite easy for Heart Shadow Sect to trace causality. Just a moment later, the elder-led super-large mechanical secret treasure, a massive plant life, waving countless vines, and those vines, like a heavenly net, strangled the fleeting black shadow, who struggled and resisted with difficulty. So be it, to die in my hometown. To have killed thousands of Heart Shadow Sect disciples before dying isn't a loss, he said. In the end, the black shadow was completely obliterated, leaving behind only some treasures. HMPH, not everyone is qualified to challenge the Heart Shadow Sect. The massive plant life, brimming with murderous intent, wielding the power of a super-large mechanical secret treasure, was now as formidable as Elder Heart Eye, one of the 18 elders. Dark Forces 1000 Mountain Tower Headquarters. All our treasures have to be given to you. Faced with two super-large mechanical secret treasures, suspended in mid-air, and surrounded by many disciples of the Heart Shadow Sect, the 7 masters of the 1000 Mountain Tower and many true gods of void space were utterly furious. As a dark force, they were only used to looting. When had they ever been looted like this? Hand everything over, and we will search you as well, said a man in green clothes. Search us too, the 7 masters exclaimed angrily. Even if the 5 great families govern the entire city, they still show us some respect. In the future, Huyang City will be ruled by my Heart Shadow Sect. In place of the Heart Shadow Sect, no dark forces are needed, the man in green clothes said indifferently. Cities ruled by the Heart Shadow Sect. Apart from major force divisions, all other commercial and local family forces were established by disciples of the Heart Shadow Sect. Entities like the Black Butcher, the Dream Flower Tower Master, and the Zhu clan, which could be somewhat independent, cannot exist on Heart Shadow Sect's turf. The Heart Shadow Sect's control over a city far exceeds that of the city owner's mansion. The 7 masters of 1000 Mountain Tower looked at each other. We are willing to hand it over, but we won't allow you to search us, one master said. The man in green clothes smiled faintly, glancing to the left where a large group of 1000 Mountain Tower members were reduced to dust, including Suo Yun. Suo Yun, careful among the group of 1000 Mountain Tower members, felt the true god's heart disintegrating as the man in green clothes glanced over, realizing at that moment he was about to die. He didn't even have time to think further before he completely perished. A weakling, he had not said a word nor resisted, and just like that, he was caught up and killed. Initially, when he and Suo Zi left their tribe, they were rescued by Luo Feng, which allowed them successfully to reach Huyang City. Within Huyang City, he and Suo Zi took different paths. He did everything possible to seize all opportunities, even stepping over boundaries and risking his life. Meanwhile, Suozi learned the culinary arts in peace at the Fire Realm restaurant, and 5 eras earlier, followed his teacher, the Black Butcher, who was taken to the royal capital by Her Royal Highness Princess Yushui Qianyu. And today, Suo Yun died quietly. No one even cared. You, the 7 masters of Thousand Mountain Tower exclaimed in shock and anger. This is a warning. Say another word, and the 7 of you are dead, the man in green warned as he gazed at them. The 7 masters of Thousand Mountain Tower could only endure it. Fine. The 7 masters could only lower their heads, allowing the disciples of the Heart Shadow sect to search their bodies, taking all their treasures, leaving not a single primal chaos stone behind. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. In the entirety of Huyang City, aside from the city owner's mansion, the 8 major forces branches, and Luo Feng's cave mansion, all eternal true gods, and true gods of void space in other locations were being pillaged, not one could escape. Facing such a pillage, those who resisted out of anger all ended up dead. The vast majority could only endure being pillaged, as the disparity in strength was too great. What is happening? Luo Feng, sitting on the peak of his cave mansion, also noticed that disciples of the Heart Shadow sect were dispersed throughout the city, several large flying boats, and numerous super-large secret treasures were in action. Lord Luo He. Suddenly, the Dream Flower Tower master contacted him. The Heart Shadow sect has blockaded the Dream Flower Tower, intending to completely pillage it and even search my body. A body search? Luo Feng was surprised. Searching the body of an eternal true god, naturally, they would search for the true god's heart. First mention my name, delay them for a while, Luo Feng messaged, and if it really can't be helped, don't resist. I'll head over right now. Okay. At this moment, the Dream Flower Tower master could only hope for help from Lord Luo He. He practiced the 7 emotions of heart refining technique, needing the Dream Flower Tower master's musical illusion techniques. Furthermore, since he and Shong Qianyang were friends, he also needed to help the Dream Flower Tower master. Master! Moyu Qingyang rushed to the mountain peak in a flash, his eyes red with desperation. Master, my brother Moyu Liuxing is dead. Sir, the novel ia.net website, on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Dead? Luo Feng was surprised. Among the 3 brothers of the Moyu family, the one called Moyu Liuxing, whom he had also met at the Heavenly Flame sect, had a talent for artifact refining. Over the long years, the oldest and youngest brothers of the Moyu family had also occasionally come to visit with gifts, so Luo Feng was quite familiar with the 3 brothers of the Moyu family. The Heart Shadow sect arbitrarily slaughters former disciples of the Heavenly Flame sect, forcing other true gods of void space to obediently search their bodies and hand over their treasures. My brother merely spoke out, and he was instantly killed. Moyu Qingyang was bewildered at this moment. The 3 brothers had grown up in Huyang City. Now, his brother was just gone like that. Although aware of the many dangers on the path of growth, when his brother was truly gone, Moyu Qingyang felt like something was missing from his world, feeling hollow and empty. Lord Luo He. Luo Feng received another plea for help. Elder Chiu. Luo Feng knew that Uncle Chiu was an old servant of Shong Qianyang, who handled many affairs of the Heavenly Flame sect. Lord Luo He, I beg you, save the disciples of the Heavenly Flame sect. Uncle Chiu has always been reluctant to bother Lord Luo He, but he was desperate this time. When the Heavenly Flame sect disbanded, many disciples went their separate ways, among them some established artificing shops, the largest of which are the 9 major shops. This time, the Heart Shadow sect is pillaging all true gods of void space, sparing none. And the slightest dissatisfaction leads to slaughter. Many disciples have been killed, Uncle Chiu urgently said. I know it's hard for the Divine Monarch, but I only ask that you save those 9 artificing shops. Whoosh! Morosa suddenly appeared beside them, looking at Moyu Qingyang. What did you say, your brother is dead? Is it that little guy who came to deliver food last time? Killed by the Heart Shadow sect, Moyu Qingyang nodded, still unable to accept it. Master, what are we waiting for? Morosa looked towards Luo Feng. Luo Feng was not surprised. He had long known that the land of origin was a very cruel world, where tribes living in the wilderness might disappear without a trace one day. And when primal chaos overlords or ancient godly kings took action, it resulted in destruction of both heaven and earth. No matter what level of cultivator they were, some were merciful, some indifferent and solitary, and some slaughtered creatures solely for their own. This was the natural order of the world, where the weak were prey to the strong. Those cultivators who slaughter creatures, just for themselves, are despicable scum that deserve to die. Exterminating these scums is also part of the natural order, Luo Feng thought, it's just that my abilities are limited. Even ancient godly kings couldn't affect the order of the land of origin. At that moment, Morosa and Moyu Qingyang were both waiting for Luo Feng to make a decision. Qingyang, Luo Feng looked at Moyu Qingyang. Where are your other family members? My father is inside the city owner's mansion. The mansion is now sealed off, so he can't return, Moyu Qingyang explained. My eldest brother's family is currently at home, and my younger sister-in-law is pregnant, so she's resting at home. Given the current dire situation, I plan to leave the city, Luo Feng said. Is your family willing to leave the city with me? Of course we're willing, Moyu Qingyang nodded. I've already messaged my father, and he said that we'll listen to the master's decision. Luo Feng looked toward Morosa. Luo Sa, you now go to Dream Flower Tower and rescue the Dream Flower Tower master, Araya, and their companions. Morosa's eyes lit up, and he immediately sent a telepathic message. Master, if we take action in the city, the Heart Shadow sect and the city owner's mansion will notice. How much of my power should I reveal? Show strength comparable to Elder Heart Eye, but your methods can be more severe. However, control the extent of your power, Luo Feng telepathically communicated. The outside world had long suspected that he was an elite cultivated by a major force. Especially since he had rejected the recruitment by the monarch of Yu country, it led to further speculation about his powerful mentorship, and that Morosa was his protector. Let the world's speculations come true then. Understood. Morosa had been eager to act, and now that his master had permitted it, he could reveal some of his fangs. Start the action, Luo Feng gestured and took Moyu Qingyang with him. In an instant, Luo Feng and Morosa both vanished in a flash. Inside the city owner's mansion, Moyu who was alone in a room. My third child, Moyu who felt as though his heart was being sliced by knives when he received the news. After the death of his wife, his 3 children were what he cared about the most in this world, valuing them even more than his own life. His relationship with Luo Feng, including the treasures he had acquired, were all exchanged for opportunities for his children. But now, his third child was gone. I knew that this world was like this, Moyu who also harbored deep hatred, but I can't avenge. That's the Heart Shadow sect. An entity that not even the entire Zhujiang Primal Chaos Prefecture can contend with, Moyu who felt helpless and in pain, while the high and mighty Marquis of Zhujiang was currently trying to marshal forces. As a mere true god of void space, what could he do? My greatest fortune was being able to meet Lord Luo He back then, Moyu who thought. I hope Lord Luo He has a successful journey, bringing Luo Feng, Qingyang, and all of them out of Huyang City. Asterisk 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 asterisk. In the Moyu family's cave mansion. Heart Shadow sect. Moyu Luo Feng stood by the lakeside, tears in his eyes and a ferocious expression on his face. For killing my brother, I, Moyu Luo Feng, swear to seek vengeance at all costs. Even if it takes tens of thousands of years, I will never give up. Among the three brothers, the eldest, Luo Feng, was the one with the highest talent. He was also the most fierce and bloodthirsty. The youngest brother was the most reserved, simply wanting to quietly pursue cultivation, yet he was the first to go. In this world, wishing to cultivate quietly didn't mean one would be allowed the peace to do so. Suddenly, a figure in a black robe stepped out from the ripples in the void and appeared above the cave mansion. Upon seeing who it was, Luo Feng immediately paid his respects reverently. "Divine Monarch. We are all ready." Luo Feng nodded and with a wave of his hand, gathered up all of the Luo family's creatures and structures. Next up are the 9 artifact shops. "Brother Shong, this is all I can do for you," Luo Feng thought. Whoosh! With a single step, Luo Feng vanished into the void. Although the Heart Shadow sect's dark array posed a stronger suppression on space, Luo Feng's current understanding of space was profound. Especially since he possessed the Void Proliferation Mother Tree leaf, it allowed him to be more in synergy with space. Moreover, the frequent observation of this leaf also led to further insights for Luo Feng. When the Heavenly Flame sect disbanded, its disciples went their separate ways. Some joined other forces, others set up their own artifact shops. Among them, the largest were the 9 artifact shops. Mo Liuxing and his wife Mo Youshang established Mo Yu's artifact shop, which had quite a reputation, and spanned tens of millions of kilometers. The Mo Yu family had a considerable foundation in Huyang City as well. Father followed Deputy City Lord Mo Limeng. The Mo family eldest was a direct disciple of the eternal true god of the Zhu clan, Zhu Yu, and the Mo family's second brother was a servant of Lord Luo He, one of the mere 2 servants by Luo his side. Therefore, many Heavenly Flame sect disciples followed Mo Liuxing, Mo Youshang. Take all the treasures with you. In Mo Yu's artifact shop, whether it was the weapons and secret treasures on display for sale, or the storages of various secret treasures and materials, the disciples of the Heart Shadow sect were now moving everything out. Moreover, many of the artifact refiners in the shop were being searched, and all of their treasures were taken, not even a single primal chaos stone was left. Huff! A figure flashed and had already arrived at the artificing shop. It was Luo Feng arriving through traveling the void. Who dares to barge into the forbidden area of the Heart Shadow sect? The disciples of the Heart Shadow sect, who were guarding the surroundings, were immediately alarmed, and the 3 super-large mechanical treasures hovering in the sky all looked over. Luo Feng, however, ignored them and instead gazed at the many artifact refiners, apprentices, and customers in the artificing shop, who all stood still, not daring to move. Lord Luo He. Most of these artifact refiners and apprentices were from the Heavenly Flame sect and naturally recognized Luo Feng. How did Mo Liuxing die? Luo Feng asked. Sir, the novelfire.nt website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Who are you? A shout of rage came from outside. Shut up quickly, that's Lord Luo He. The previously bustling disciples of the Heart Shadow sect soon fell silent. But Luo Feng didn't pay attention to the outside and continued to look at the artifact refiners. One burly artifact refiner immediately said, "Divine Monarch, today the disciples of the Heart Shadow sect suddenly arrived and without a word, just pointed their fingers, and many artifact refiners, a large number of apprentices, and numerous customers died instantly, frightening everyone in the artificing shop into silence." Only then did the Heart Shadow sect say that all treasures and materials of the artificing shop belonged to the Heart Shadow sect, and all eternal true gods and true gods of void space had to hand over their treasures, and even be searched. As the owner of the artifact shop, Mo Liuxing only said, "We're willing to hand over the treasures. Can we avoid being searched?" The burly artifact refiner said with grief and indignation. He had barely started speaking when the leading disciple of the Heart Shadow sect pointed his finger again, and Mo Liuxing, along with the surrounding artifact refiners, apprentices, and customers, were all annihilated. You really dare to speak out? At that moment, 3 figures walked in from outside. The one in the lead was clad in a purple robe, underneath which seemed to be a godly body formed of black liquid, with an expression cold as ice. He looked at Luo Feng and saluted. Disciple Chan Wuchi of the Heart Shadow sect greets Lord Luo He. You pointed your finger twice and massacred a great number of creatures in the artificing shop, did you? Luo Feng stared at him. It was me. Chan Wuchi said, my Heart Shadow sect is merciful. This time, we were only collecting war contributions from eternal true gods, and true gods of void space. To make the collection go more smoothly, it's natural to intimidate. It was him. He killed Mo Yu Liuxing. The eyes of the burly artifact refiner were frenzied. Indeed, it was me. Chan Wuchi nodded. I was dealing with things, and he dared to speak out of turn. He was asking for death. Chan Wuchi felt it was completely justified. To slaughter a few true gods of void space, and true gods, was merely a matter of a breath. No big deal. So this was the reason. Luo Feng understood. Luo Feng also extended his hand and lightly pointed. Hum. An invisible blade light descended, instantly eradicating Chan Wuchi's godly body. Even as Chan Wuchi died with his eyes wide open, he couldn't believe it. This Lord Luo He actually dares to kill an eternal true god of my Heart Shadow sect in public. Does he wish to be completely at odds with my Heart Shadow sect? This scene stunned the other disciples of the Heart Shadow sect, who were frightened and immediately rushed out of the artificing shop. Before coming to Huyang City, they knew of Lord Luo His renown, which was not something ordinary disciples could withstand. Huff! Luo Feng waved his hand and took all the creatures in the artificing shop with him, including the customers. At the critical moment, Luo Feng didn't have time to ask for their opinions. If they wanted to return, he would personally take them back after the war was over. In this commercial district, with 3 super-large mechanical treasures floating in the sky and 19 large flying boats hovering above, many disciples of the Heart Shadow sect were looting various commercial powers. With Luo Feng's arrival, all disciples of the Heart Shadow sect became nervous on the spot. Lord Luo He is here. Uncle Chan Wuchi has been killed. The disciples of the Heart Shadow sect were somewhat panicked. The 3 super-large mechanical treasures in the high sky also approached the Moyus artificing shop, and they too were shocked that Lord Luo He had taken action directly. After all, the Heart Shadow sect had always shown respect for Lord Luo He. Lord Luo He and his 2 servants were not to be offended by the Heart Shadow sect. But the friends and relatives of the servants. The friends that Lord Luo He had made. Luo Feng had lived in Huyang City for over 30 eras, met too many friends, most of whom were eternal true gods. Some he had good relations with, others he had merely chatted with a few times. The Heart Shadow sect couldn't possibly let them all go. As for the friends and relatives of the servants, the Heart Shadow sect would care even less. Lord Luo He, you dare to kill our disciples of the Heart Shadow sect at will, one of the super-large mechanical treasures, covered in dark cyan scales, almost humanoid with 8 arms, said. Whoosh! A dazzling and terrifying blade light instantly tore through the sky, breaking space itself with a pitch-black crack, and directly swept past the super-large mechanical treasure. This caused the super-large treasure to shatter, and the disciples within were mostly killed or injured instantly. Among them, the 11 eternal true gods in command of the super-large mechanical treasure all perished. This scene left many disciples of the Heart Shadow sect frozen and chilled to the bone. Quick, escape! The shattered super-large mechanical treasure's remaining disciples were so terrified that they immediately flew away. The fastest to flee, however, were the 2 other super-large mechanical treasures. Luo Feng stepped out of the artificing shop, looked up at the sky, and said coldly, I'm dealing with things, and you also dare to speak up. You are truly seeking death. The words of Luo Feng echoed mightily through the void, clearly heard by the escaping disciples of the Heart Shadow sect. As he watched the falling superlarge treasures break apart in the high sky, Luo Feng waved his hand to collect them. He then stepped forward and teleported through the void to the next artificing shop. This video will end here.